There's perception and there's reality, and I'm going to attack today, and I mean attack with all guns blazing. Maybe the grossest misperception about this franchise right now. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Perception. The Penguins are old. Okay, that one is also reality. Their best players are either in their mid-30s or a little bit over that, with the exception of Erik Karlsson, who's just kind of getting there. Perception. The Penguins can't build a good roster because they spend all of their money, or they overcommit all of their money to older players. Wow, no. And I'm going to go at some of these individually. Let's start at the very top. Sidney Crosby has been making $8.7 million, at least that's been the cap hit, for a long, long time now. Sid, as such, has been the best bargain, not in the NHL, in all of professional sports. Sid has been so hideously undercompensated for what he means to the team, to the city, to the fans, that almost any conversation about how this team is compensated should begin and end right there. It's been the steal of the century to have Sid here at 8.7 per year. But when you look at the rest of this now, a lot of it still applies. Sid was the fifth most productive center in the NHL last season. Even if his contract, the new contract, takes him up to, a $10 million cap hit or something in that range, he'll still be a bargain. His age doesn't matter in this equation. Only the production does. Fifth most productive center in the NHL. Yevgeny Malkin was in the top 30 of the NHL's centers, and he's a number 2 on this team. He's at $6.1 million. Again, really, really good deal. No one gave Gino some big going-away present with this contract. He has this year and next year, and that's it. He's 38 now. He'll be 39 then. And if he can remain highly effective, especially on offense, second-line center, that is a really good price. And it would be a really good price if he was 25 years old, although he would have been way more productive, but you get what I'm saying. Brian Rust is at 5.13. Brian Rust meets that. Ricard Raquel is at 5. He undershot his last season. If he performs up to his career norms, that's an okay deal. Michael Bunting is at 4.5, an inherited contract, but he certainly looked like a 4.5 player. Do you follow what I'm saying here? You can do this through your top 6 guys. You can analyze this any which way you want. You can even get into your top couple of defensemen. Erik Karlsson's a $10 million player, but guess what? He is a $10 million player. Chris Letang's getting 6.1 this coming season, season after that, and a season after that. Do you doubt that Letang is going to meet that value in those seasons, understanding that contracts go up with each passing year? The money isn't being wasted on your main guys. They're being paid either at fair value or under it in almost every case, and the only one that I'll exempt, and that's just momentary, is Raquel. I would say the same for the top 2 defensemen. And if, this is a big if, Marcus Pettersson gets extended, I'll put him in that same category. I don't think Marcus is ever going to underperform a contract that he signs in his life. So where is the actual waste? Where is the money not meeting the performance? Well, oddly enough, it's exactly in the areas where people don't talk about it. I could start in goal very easily in goal. not as a tandem. The tandem of Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic makes for around an $8 million cap hit. That's okay as a tandem. As an individual, Jarry most definitely has not lived up to being a $5.38 million annual cap hit. That's a problem. Defensively, Ryan Graves is nowhere near a $4.5 million defenseman. That's also a problem. In fact, I've probably cited the two biggest problems because both of those are also long-term contracts. From the forwards, and here's where I end up complaining all the time, other than Lars Eller's $2.45 million, which he has coming this season, you're spending $2 million on Noel Acciari for 3 years, meaning he's got this coming season and the one after that. And while that's not exactly a cap-crippling contract, it's not ideal. If you're going to get somebody who's going to be in that range, they'd better be somebody who's younger, faster, can score once in a while. Or you can do what Kyle Dubas decided to do this summer versus last summer, which is to sign a whole bunch of guys between $1 million and $1.5 and somewhere in that range and let them all duke it out in training camp. That's a better way to manage the cap. It's also a better way to manage the roster competitively, and I've applauded him for it multiple times. It's a year late, but he changed, and my stance can change. So your problems, when it comes to money, are Jarry, Graves, Acciari, to a lesser extent Raquel, but the guys that you're giving your most money to, they're doing just fine, as always, and it's been the case for a long time now. The supporting cast is the issue. A little bit of a parenthesis here. Also, the fact that if you had more younger players, they would come up and play at entry-level terms, and that would be much more affordable, but then they don't have that because they haven't had a system in several years. End parentheses. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q isn't a question at all. It's additional information that's being provided to us by Rich, a longtime listener, who did some research on the subjects of overtime and shootouts, since we've been talking about them a lot this week, and the impact, meaning negatively, of course, that they've had on the Penguins' overall point totals in the standings. And Rich says, DK, an interesting stat about overtime. Over the past 3 seasons, the Penguins have lost 34 games, or 34 points, in overtime. That is a significant number, especially considering how close they were to making the playoffs each of the past 2 seasons. Now, while the power play is a known area of concern, I believe that overtime performance is another key opportunity for improvement. This past season, the Penguins were 4-9 in overtime, with 5 of those games going to a shootout where they'd only go 2-3. They went 2-6 in the 5-minute overtime period before the shootout, which is concerning. Looking ahead, I don't expect this season to be much different from the last 2 in terms of their playoff standing, so capitalizing on these opportunities will be crucial. Rich, earlier this week, the Penguins had this big bulk announcement about a lot of different moves within their front office, within hockey ops. All of it was hockey-based. The headline out of that was that Jason Spezza was named general manager of the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Penguins. Amanda Keller was named his assistant GM, and there were a few other titles. There also was an announcement of a hiring of Jonathan Ehrlichman from the Tampa Bay Rays, of course, of Major League Baseball. If you follow baseball even peripherally, you'll know that the Rays are universally seen as the industry leader when it comes to advanced analytics and applying those analytics. and intangibly here, thinking outside the box. Ehrlichman's role with the Penguins officially is going to be that he's the vice president of analytics and research and that, which, by the way, would make just the coolest ever Pittsburgh-based business card, right? Well, if I wanted to bring some element of what the Rays do into what the Penguins do or what the Penguins need to do, I'd have them looking at your list, Rich. I'd have them thinking about ways that they can tack on that missing point or missing points. When you're left out of the dance by a single point or two, this should be your entire overarching analytical focus. How do we get that point? What's not there? Should we be trying some NBA-style resting of certain players so that they're fresher against divisional opponents or conference opponents? Should we be thinking differently about the way forward lines are structured so that you can go with, 3 scoring lines versus 2 or 4 scoring lines versus none or whatever, but come up with some sort of data to support whatever your point is. And in this case, I've already brought up this week getting yourself some sort of shootout specialist, like a new wave Eric Christensen or Jussi Jokinen or Jarkko Ruutu or others who've been really good at this, and say, listen, we need to have at least one of these types somewhere out of the 12 forwards that we suit up. One of those 12 forwards on a given night only logs about 3 or 4 minutes of ice time. So what's the damage if we dress someone like that? Or maybe everything I'm saying is 100% wrong. But find out. Find out. That's why you do this. That's why you go to the Rays. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. I got to tell you, for absolutely nothing going on this week, this has been one of my favorite weeks of this show. Lots of good stuff coming from your direction. Let's do it again tomorrow.